All right. Welcome to the podcast, episode 651 of BD4, where there's no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. I'm your host, RJ Carbone. This is an audio-only episode, so for those of you who are on Apple Podcasts listening or Spotify, obviously that doesn't matter. But if you're watching the video edit on YouTube, this is an audio only. That's why there's no video on your screen right now. It's just this slide that you see on the screen. Just because it's Knicks Pistons, there really isn't much to dive into. So it's going to be a shorter episode, on the shorter side, I would say. Maybe 20, 30 minutes tops. Probably 20-something minutes because of that. So with that said, let's dive right in. Let's get to our intro, and from there we will talk about just a couple of things, and then we'll wrap it up after that. We'll get to all the points we need to make, but we'll make it short and summarize it. So let's get to it. Episode 651 of the podcast. Let's go. Welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, RJ Carbone. You are listening to BD4, where there's no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. We also do MMA. Yanks every series, Knicks every game, MMA on occasion. Let's get to it.
Anthony for three. That one goes down, and the game is tied.
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody.
The Yankees are champions of baseball.
Shaking and baking right here on the neophyte.
U.S. trying to close the show. She was doing a great job of feeding that. It's over.
Coming up, go, KP. Don't you regret not coming to the net? Don't you regret not coming to the net?
Game over. World Series over. Yankees win. The Yankees win.
2 more days till baseball, folks. Oh yeah. That's gonna be oh gosh, I can't wait. Despite knowing that it's probably not gonna be the prettiest of seasons. But I think they'll make it. I think the Yankees will make the playoffs. Hey, how are we? Episode 651. Talking Yankees, see. Talking Knicks. We're not doing Yankees. I might have a Yankees episode out for 652 if I can get to it sometime tomorrow night, where we're talking about Carlos Rodon. I want to talk some more about Carlos Rodon. I wrote a blog about Carlos Rodon today. If you want to check that out, go to BD4blog.com for more. The blog is up on my website, BD4blog.com. And I talked a little bit about Carlos Rodon and the importance how important he's going to be to the Yankees season. I talked about what I think he needs to do, not do this year, in order for the Yankees to succeed. So if you want to go check that out, I wrote on Carlos Rodon. Again, BD4blog.com if you want to read the entire article. We are talking Knicks. And before we do get to the Knicks, again, if you want to fast forward, you can always go to the timestamps down below in the description. I watched as soon as the Knicks game ended, because they were kind of on at the same time, 7:30, 8 o'clock, Knicks and the Iowa Hawkeyes. As soon as the Knicks game ended, I turned on the TV and I was watching the Lady Hawkeyes because I am a huge fan of Caitlin Clark. And if you want like a perfect example of what Caitlin Clark is doing for women's basketball, women's sports, I think I'm a pretty good example of that. Like, she's been able to blend both genders. Yes, there are only 2 genders. Into this world. Like, I am a New York Knicks fan who lives on the East Coast. Okay, I live in Jersey. I'm about 25 minutes on a good day from New York City. I have nothing to do with Iowa. The most that I have to do with Iowa is I love the movie Field of Dreams. And I watch this Iowa Hawkeyes team every single time I get a chance. I've watched their tournament games. I watched them in the conference tournament earlier this month, and I watched their first round it was a week ago or a couple days ago. And then I watched what I could tonight towards the end. Because Caitlin Clark, I started following her a little bit last year when I heard her make some noise here and there, but I never really watched the games. I just saw highlights, I read about her, things like that. Man, sometime this year, I started watching their games. And not just once she got closer to setting the 3-point record and the points record, I started really watching their games. And then I'm starting to get really intrigued with the team. It started out as just Caitlin Clark's pretty fun. Let me watch her. But I'm into this team now. And I root for this team. I watch these games. You should have seen me tonight. I'm on my feet here in the studio, nervous, stressed that they're playing West Virginia, and this game was tight. And they almost blew it. And I'm sitting here rooting for the team. It started out, I'm just rooting for Caitlin Clark to score points and shoot deep threes. But I'm a big fan of Kate Martin now, the glue of the team. Gabby Marshall, she's making clutch defensive plays every game. I'm a big fan, a huge fan of Hannah Stolke, who is this low post beast, finishing in transition. They feed her in the half court. She's on the low post. That she's so efficient at the basket. Man, I never thought that I'd be into this team. This team is fun. So Caitlin Clark, awesome, amazing, and she's going to do so many good things in the WNBA. She's doing so much around sports. Like I said, she's blending both genders into this world. She's brought all types of fans into women's basketball. And I just thought I'd share that because I watched the game tonight and I'm wow, this is hilarious where I am. I never thought I'd be watching the Iowa Hawkeyes women's basketball team and be really sweating it. And I was. So if you didn't skip, I'm sorry that you sat through it, but I guess you sat through it because you wanted to hear it. But if you did skip, all right, we're talking Knicks now. Let me just adjust this mic. Here we go. The Knicks tonight took on the Pistons at the Garden. Before the game, you got, semi-updates. Randle not taking full contact yet, still. You got updates that OG Anunoby took part in the morning shoot-around this morning. And Mitchell Robinson, it seems like from what we're hearing on Twitter from Knicks beat reporters, it seems like Mitch is going to be the first one back of the three. Hopefully that means the OKC game. And hopefully OG Anunoby is back for the OKC game. I feel like that's the one I'm concerned about. I guess I'm most concerned about Julius. But with OG, just the fact that he came back, was screaming in pain, and now he's off the floor again after surgery, it's if he's not back for OKC, which is a big game against a tough team, it's all right, how serious is this injury then? Because you're figuring if he is back by OKC, it's all right, well, they sat him out against Brooklyn, Detroit, Toronto, San Antonio because they're Brooklyn, Detroit, Toronto, San Antonio. Terrible. So it's like, well, if he's not back by OKC, that means it's something deeper than just being precautious or cautious. But yeah, the Knicks were without all three of them and also without Alec Burks because he's been dealing with a shoulder injury for a couple of days or weeks, they said now. The Knicks were without them four, and the Pistons were without fucking everybody. No Cade Cunningham, no Jalen Duren, no Fontecchio. Taj was out. Grimes was out. Isaiah Stewart and that kid Thompson didn't play. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players. I might have even missed a couple. But the Knicks get off to a very hot start, and this game was over before you knew it. They start the game 4 for 4. They go up 9-3. Then they go on this 20-0 run in the first quarter. Ihart's making plays. Donte DiVincenzo, we'll talk about him. Deuce McBride, hot early on. It's 36-17 after one. Second quarter, Bojan Bogdanovic, who had himself a decent game with 13 points, gets a couple of baskets to fall. Donte DiVincenzo's hot. Detroit makes a late run. The Pistons go on an 8-0 run late in the second quarter. But the Knicks are still up 59-42 at half. Third quarter comes. Donte DiVincenzo goes from hot to absolutely bonkers. Inferno. He knocks down at one point 5 consecutive threes. Now, they did take one of them away, which annoyed me. But he knocked down at one point what was 5 consecutive threes. He had that possession where he got 2 straight blocks. That was fun. And after 3 quarters, it was 95-66 Knicks. So the fourth quarter was mostly garbage time. And because they took the Donte 3 away, he was still one off of the Knicks, of setting the Knicks 3-point record. And he finally did. In the fourth quarter, Donte DiVincenzo stayed in the game long. Tibbs wanted him to get the record, as we all did. And he knocked down a 3 to set the Knicks franchise record for the most 3-pointers in a game. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. But the Knicks would win 124-99. So the Knicks defense doing everything the Knicks defense does once again, despite not being without OG Anunoby and Mitchell Robinson. Held a shitty Pistons team to 99. They did their job. 39% field goals, 29% on their threes, the Pistons. Another night where the Knicks limited any type of scoring in the paint. 2 consecutive nights where it's just been locked down at the rim. So you have to credit Precious Achiuwa. You have to credit Isaiah Hartenstein for protecting the basket like he's been doing. I mean, he was so good down there tonight that Detroit at one point just stopped going to the basket. You could see it altered their decisions. He had that Mitchell Robinson effect. You had guys like Josh Hart skying for rebounds as usual. You know, you had Deuce McBride fighting through screens like an animal, deflecting the ball, stealing it, and leading the fast break. Like, it just throwing down dunks in transition. Really, really energizing defense, and you liked seeing that despite playing an opponent that's far inferior. And this is where we are, man. This is where we are. The Knicks, with this win, man, they're 38-3 when they go up 10 points in a game. That's pretty cool. Overall, they're 43-28. They are 13-11 since the Julius Randle injury. 11-11 since that OG Anunoby injury, if you take out the 2 games he played in. They're 8-2 in their last 10, and they're 6-1 in their last 7. So however you butter knife it, however you want to pick it apart, break it down, no matter what you do, you're going to find the Knicks being at least treading water at the very least during this entire stretch where the rotation's been out. So despite all the drama, all the nonsense, it's pretty fucking incredible. This is where this Knicks team is despite all that. Do you remember, if anybody who's been listening for this long, like when the Mitchell Robinson injury happened, the very next episode that night, I said, like, I am really down on the Knicks, and I think their ceiling just lowered. And I think they're going to have a tough time getting past the play-in. I might have even said that. Well, like, I wonder what their record is since that, because I'm sure it's pretty damn good. They've been awesome without all these guys. And I'm not saying that they don't need these guys back. They still need these guys back. I hope there's no narratives going on around Twitter right now. I haven't looked about like the Knicks not needing Randle, because at the end of the day, they're 13-11 without him. You know, they're not 25-2. They're not 20-10, whatever. They're 13-11. They've been good. They've got the job done, and that's exactly what we need. And that's a testament to, obviously, Jalen Brunson for being Jalen Brunson. He had a cool, easy, casual 28 points on 50% tonight. It's a testament to Brunson. It's a testament to Tom Thibodeau for just coaching this team and being the reason that they fight so hard for 48 minutes a night. It's a testament to these damn role players that the front office went out and got bargain deals on. You know, all these guys. Deuce McBride, 13 points tonight. Isaiah Hartenstein, 6 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, a steal, 3 blocks. He was a plus 27 in 24 minutes. Josh Hart, not a bargain contract, but still, he is Tom Thibodeau. If he were to make a player in a laboratory, that's Josh Hart. Another triple-double tonight for Josh Hart, by the way. What's he had, 6 now? 6 in his career, 6 since January. And of course, how could you talk about role players and not bring up the ultimate role player, who it kind of feels disrespectful to call him that at this point, because he's averaging up to 15 points per game. It's probably closer to 20 without Julius. Donte DiVincenzo has just been stellar. Just fucking stellar. And I want to talk about Donte when we return from our first break here on the podcast. Stay with us.
Hey there, thanks for listening in so far. If you enjoy this episode, please give us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. And if you're on YouTube, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks so much. You can follow us on social media as well. On Instagram, we're at BD4Pod and at Rob J. Carbone. On X, we're at BD4Pod and at RJCBD4. And on Facebook, we're BD4. If you're interested in our website, just go to www.bd4blog.com. You can subscribe to our blog on there right on the front page. Just like on the podcast, we cover Yankees, Knicks, and MMA. Also on our website are the links to the different platforms for the podcast. Thanks so much.
All right, welcome back to the show. Welcome back to episode 651 of the podcast, BD4, where there's no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. We also do MMA. Yanks every series, Knicks every game, MMA on occasion. Be sure to share these episodes on social media if you want. Folks, Donte DiVincenzo is getting the game ball from the starting unit tonight. He scored 40 points tonight, guys. 40 points, 14 of 23 from the floor, 11 of 20 from 3, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, a couple steals, a block, and he was a plus 21 in 41 minutes. Remember earlier in the year when he wasn't even starting, when he was like the final man in the rotation getting the short end of the stick at times? Now he's out here dropping 40, breaking records from 3. He's on his way to another record, the season record, which is coming up. He got his 13th game ball of the season tonight. It's my little fun addition. But he's just been unbelievable. We talk about the defense all the time. How good he is in help, in rotation, jumping the pass lanes, and all that. But the scoring's awesome. It's such a fun thing to watch. He's coming off screens with such a quick release. He can shoot it from such deep range, and he's got such a quick shot that he can beat a closeout, no problem. You're closing out to Donte DiVincenzo. Doesn't matter. His shot is so pure, and it's such a quick one-motion shot. And it's going in every time now. He's back up over 40% on the year. But yeah, he knocked down 11 three-pointers tonight. I mean, he was on fire in that third quarter where Detroit started to face guard him. They did not want to take their eyes off him. Evan Fournier, who was the tied with J.R. Smith with 10 threes, so he had the record entering the night with J.R. You could tell he did not want that thing to be broken. the way that Evan Fournier, nobody's ever seen Evan Fournier play a lick of defense his entire career. He was playing defense like fucking Kawhi Leonard tonight. I mean, he did not want that to happen. He was locking down in that third quarter. He did not want him to get that 11th three. Which, you kind of had a little bit of a conspiracy at the end. I saw on Twitter some people talking about it, of how Malachi Flynn, you can see on that 11th three in the fourth quarter, he went under the screen and still struggled getting under it. And somebody posted a clip of those two exchanging words before that possession. And it seemed like you could draw a conclusion to say that Donte and Malachi were like, Malachi was like, hey, I'll let you get the record. Just, I'll go under the screen. So I thought that was pretty funny. After the game, Monty Williams kind of hinting that Donte DiVincenzo was stat padding. I don't want any part of their story. They know what they did, something like that. Josh Hart fires back. He said, well, play better defense. Listen, Monty Williams is, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. The guy's had a rough year. He seems miserable over there. At the end of the day, though, this is the guy who didn't want the job. He turned it down. They said, hey, we'll pay you this much money instead. Okay, I'll take it. Sure. Yeah, it's rough, man. It sucks to see a former Knick in this situation. But I mean, Donte DiVincenzo has just been awesome. This is a guy who, again, I feel like we say this every episode now, but I'll repeat it. He's making mid-level money, mid-level exception money. I want to go through the NBA leaderboards and look at other guys who are averaging 15 points per game plus and see what their contracts are. Look at other guys who are 40% from three on this volume and see what their contracts are, because I have to bet that Donte DiVincenzo is among one of the better dollar-for-dollar contracts on that list. He's one of many great contracts that Leon Rose has paid his players. So, credit to Leon and credit to Donte DiVincenzo for putting together another very strong performance. We go over to the bench. I'll give it to Precious Achiuwa. I thought Achiuwa was good tonight. A lot of it was in garbage time, but he finished with 9 points, 16 rebounds in 26 minutes, a steal, a block, and he was a +3. He now has 9 game balls on the season. grabbing rebounds, playing defense. He was very vocal out there, calling out sets that Detroit was running, communicating and letting his teammates know where to be on the floor. Quarterbacking the defense. And he just continues to do his job. You know, for a guy who's probably going to be pushed out of the rotation and become more situational when everybody's healthy, you know, you appreciate him doing everything he's doing in these minutes. 26 tonight, and he took advantage of every single minute. It's probably going to be, again, situational if everybody gets healthy, and he won't play in some games, I'm sure, but I very much appreciate what Precious Achua has brought to this team. Give Tom Thibodeau a big, and he's going to make him work. He's gonna turn him into a very solid center. This offense is in such a perfect spot, and they're only going to get better. I know the numbers now on the season are not amazing because of these injuries. They've taken them out of the top 5, but they scored 124 points tonight. They shot 51%, 41% from 3. They had 30 assists, 67% assist rate. I know it's against a G League Pistons team, but I really expect this offense to start humming when everybody gets back. And I only expect, especially now that it's kind of confirmed that Isaiah Hartenstein is going to be starting even when Mitch returns, I only expect it to get better. I just feel like he's going to work with those guys so well because everybody just seems to have this chemistry. It seems like everybody's been playing together for years. And part of the reason is because 3 of these guys are from Nova. But like Isaiah Hartenstein, the way the Knicks can run offense through him, and it just works so seamlessly, if that's even the right word, it gives me so much confidence in this team. It's a different offense, man. It's such a different offense when Hartenstein starts versus a Mitchell Robinson because of the movement off the ball from him, from the other guys, because of his screening. DHO, blind pig, Chicago actions, zoom actions, pin downs, pick and roll. Because of his passing ability, his vision, he hits every cutter that cuts. His quick and decisive decision making. The Knicks have developed an offense that you can't just fuck with now. They've got this structure now. Their offensive identity is that they run offense through Isaiah Hartenstein a lot of the time. And it's like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So you cannot just change this up at the most critical time in the season and be like, all right, we'll go back to Mitchell Robinson now. So that's why I think they're doing the right thing by what it seems like sticking with Hartenstein. You know, it's not just pick and roll into isolation anymore, but it's, you know, they're still going to pick and roll into, and they're still going to ISO and all that, but it's that with some motion offense, with iHeart at the top of the key as this playmaking hub who hits his cutters, as iHeart playmaking out of the short pick and roll where he's hitting his spacers in the corners above the break, versus Mitchell Robinson pick and roll, Jalen Brunson ISO with Mitchell Robinson in the dunker spot, gobbling up offensive rebounds. You know, it's a much more dynamic offense. He diversifies things so much more. And then when these guys come back, I really think they'll have no problem gelling. I think OG Anunoby is just another weapon for iHeart to hit in the corners. He's going to benefit Brunson because of that spacing. He's going to help Julius because he'll take some workload off him at power forward. He's going to hide poor defenders like Julius and Boyan. And when Randle returns, man, the post-gravity He's going to be able to create offense out of it. He posts. They put 2 on the post. Swing. He generates offense for Brunson. He gets Brunson so much better looks from 3. Brunson dumps it down to the post. He draws 2. Brunson relocates on the corners. Randle hits him. It's going to take so much pressure off of Brunson. It's not just going to be, let's trap the high pick and roll. Brunson hit the outlet. No, it's you're not going to see as much traps and blitzing and hedging because he's got Julius now. He's going to have Julius with him. Julius is going to help Boyan attack the second side. That's something we brought up. Now, I don't know how healthy he's going to be, but his gravity alone is still going to affect a lot of this, which is a good thing. And I'm excited to see Deuce McBride with all these new guys, like the new Deuce McBride. Sorry, not the new guys. The new and improved Deuce McBride with these guys, with Julius, with OG, with Mitch, especially. Now, Deuce will probably get less minutes when everybody's healthy, but he'll still be getting double-figure minutes as the 8th man. And his shooting, man. I mean, he's gotten to a point where tonight was considered a quiet game. He had 13 points. It was considered a bad game for him. 13 points, and I think he shot 5 for 12 or something like that. That used to be one of his better games. So he's quickly developing, quickly growing. But I'm excited to see the offense with all these guys. Obviously the defense. And I want to talk about something else, kind of unrelated, that I forgot to bring up when we covered the Nets game a couple days ago. But I want to bring something up regarding a specific player when we return from break here. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Studio 69 Productions is a podcast production agency created by Leo Rodriguez to allow content creators to market their podcast. It's an online platform that will market your podcast or any other project that you're working on. Get in touch with Leo Rodriguez from Studio 69 Productions. You can find Studio 69 Productions on Instagram at Studio69NJ. Studio 69 Productions, where dreams are heard and born. This has kind of been something I haven't talked about a ton. But the Mikal Bridges conversation is very interesting when it comes to a lot of Knicks fans are very high on Bridges, and a lot of them want him. And I just thought for a couple of minutes here, speaking of, like we said, this would go 20 minutes. We're approaching 40, so I knew this would happen. But listen, obviously Donovan Mitchell, there might be some movement there this summer. The Cavs are trying to stay under the tax, but they also want to pay Mobley. So there's a good chance that Donovan Mitchell, who never wanted to be there to begin with, let's be honest, it's been kind of known. There's a good chance that he is moved. And the Knicks are one of the very few teams who can afford him and he wants to be on. They've got the capital. They've got the ability to match salary, the draft picks. They got all of it. And I think Donovan Mitchell is the most potent guy that you could go after in the offseason. Realistically speaking, let's say there's a world where Donovan Mitchell and Mikal Bridges were going to get traded this offseason, which is very possible. I think Donovan Mitchell is the guy you look at as like the best guy in the market, right? Because nobody, it doesn't seem like Embiid's going to be on the move anymore. Doesn't seem like, although you never know with the Giannis thing, it doesn't seem like that's going to happen anymore either. Donovan Mitchell seems like it's the most realistic of the superstar players. And it seems like he's the most potent player to get because he's a superstar, because he gives you firepower. So that would be like the home run move everyone's talking about. That would be the move that could really help this Knicks team match Boston in terms of firepower. It's the superstar move. Now, I've made this known before. I've got my concerns there regarding Donovan Mitchell's fit. In short, I don't like the defense because of the size. Which leads me to this Mikal Bridges thing. Because Mikal Bridges is in no way a guy who has the upside that Donovan Mitchell does. He's in no way a superstar player. He's in no way a guy you add and you're like, okay, this is firepower. You know, this is Brunson's 1B or this is 1A, 2 Brunson, wherever way you want to put it. He's not Donovan Mitchell in that sense. But what Mikal Bridges is that Donovan Mitchell definitely isn't, he is the A-plus fit. He is the best fit for this Knicks team of all the guys who are going to be potentially available. I just think it makes so much sense if we're just talking about fit. You have the Nova connection. I mean, if Donte and Brunson and Josh play this well together, you can put Mikal Bridges in there and just it's just going to be even better. The chemistry that they have already on the court, in the locker room, like the Nova connection, you're just adding that last infinity stone. And, you know, basketball stuff, like he's a perfect player too. He's a long wing. He's going to make you very switchable on the perimeter. I mean, how switchable can you get when you're throwing out a lineup with OG, Mikal Bridges, and Mitchell Robinson? Like, talk about your switchability. The defense is going to be incredible. And this is the guy on the other end who can shoot in space. It's awesome. It makes so much sense fit-wise. So I'm very curious, but I don't think it's ever going to happen because the Knicks and Nets just don't do business together. And it seems like if the Nets were to pick up the phone on any Bridges calls, it'll probably be with Houston because obviously they've been in talks. They were in talks earlier this year, Houston giving them back their picks that they took. So I don't know, but like I just wanted to bring that up because, you know, it's been something that's crossed my mind. I don't know if it's going to help them move the needle, but it definitely fits. And if there's a team, if you want to say that the Knicks can do this whole early 2000s Pistons thing, where you don't need two superstars, I don't necessarily agree with that, but it's hard to argue that Mikal Bridges doesn't fit this team perfectly perfectly than anybody else. Like, the one thing you can't say about Donovan Mitchell is that he fits perfectly, because there is certainly question about fit. I personally think that when it comes to a talent like that, you completely ignore fit. But, yeah, I'm not going to lie and say the Bridges thing isn't intriguing at all, because it is. Anyways, let's get back to current times. Let's rewind back to the present, if you will. And let's check up on the standings, man, because the Knicks win tonight. And a couple other teams in the Eastern Conference played. The Sixers just took a loss to the Kings. So they fall an extra game behind the Knicks. They're a couple of games. Let's see. With their loss, the Sixers at the 8th spot are now 4.5 back. 4.5 back of the Knicks. At the 7th spot are the Miami Heat, who did not play tonight. But they're 4 games back of the Knicks. And then you go to the playoff seeds. Indiana's at 6. They won tonight against the Clippers. They are still 3 games back of the Knicks with 11 games remaining. 5th place, you got the Orlando Magic, who did not play tonight. They are still 1 game back of the Knicks. They are now 1 game back of the Knicks. And the Knicks in 4th place at 43-28. With the Cavs getting Charlotte tonight, they won that game. So the Knicks are still just a half game back from the Cleveland Cavaliers. And again, if you didn't hear me say it last episode, that 3 seed is going to be very important for the Knicks. Because if the Knicks can lock down that 3 seed, that would mean that do they win their first round matchup, no matter who it's against, they do not see Boston in the second round. So that's huge. If you get the 3 seed, if you get the 2 seed, if you get the 6 seed, those 3 seeds, 2, 3, and 6, you avoid the Boston side of the bracket. So I am pulling like hell for the Knicks to take over 3rd place. And the good thing is they have the tiebreaker with Cleveland. So do these teams tie with the same record? The Knicks will take that 3 seed. So technically, they're, because it's a half game, they have it. You just need that game to be played. But in the loss column, they both have the same amount. It's just Cleveland has the extra game played. So it's going to be a good one. It's going to be a very interesting final couple of weeks of the season here. But with that said, let's get to our final break and we'll wrap it up with our trivia. How funny is that, man? I said 20 minutes. By the time we get to our outro, it'll be 45, 50 minutes. Let's get to our final break.
Thanks for listening to BD4, where there is no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. We also do MMA, Yanks every series, Knicks every game, and MMA on occasion.
All right, welcome back to the show. Yeah, let's just wrap it up. Let's get to our trivia and wrap it up. Our trivia question in honor of Willis Reed tonight at Madison Square Garden. They were honoring him. Let's do a Willis Reed question. Which stat did Willis Reed lead the NBA in during his rookie season? Minutes played, games played, or points scored? Which stat did Willis Reed lead the NBA in during his rookie season? Was it minutes played, games played, or points scored? Awesome to see that the Boston Celtics, as I'm looking up at my TV, blew a 30-point lead tonight to the Hawks. Fucking rednecks. I hate Boston, and I love to hate Boston. In honor of Willis Reed, which stat did Willis Reed lead the NBA in during his rookie season? Was it minutes, games, or points? Folks, I appreciate you all tuning in. Episode 651 in the books. I'm your host, RJ Carbone. I really thank you all for tuning in and listening to this show. Again, if you are on the YouTube edit, if you're watching this over on YouTube, this was an audio-only episode just because it's Knicks Pistons and I didn't really feel like setting everything up and doing all that work for a game that doesn't have much input. Anyways, that's all we got. And again, if I can get to another Yankees episode in 652, I might sneak one more episode in before opening day where I kind of want to talk about Rodon. Because we wrote an article on Carlos Rodon earlier today. Check that out, BD4blog.com. But I'll stop talking. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you all, and I'll see you in the next show. Later. This episode was brought to you by Anchor.
Hey there! If you stayed the entire way through, we thank you immensely for it. We hope you enjoyed this podcast and that you come back for the next episode real soon. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, download these episodes, and share them with your friends as well. BD4 is a 5-star podcast simply because of you. And we'd like to keep it that way. Have a wonderful day. Go Yankees and go Knicks!